Good Sunday morning and welcome to Locally on the Links. I'm Rich Roth and I am joined in studio by none other than Dick Mast, former PGA Tour professional, current Senior PGA Tour professional, and the teaching pro up at Poplar Grove Golf Club. Dick, good to have you back. How are you?
Hey, Rich. Always good to be back. Always enjoy your show and looking forward to talking golf.
Always fun to talk golf with you. And, we were just talking about it before we jumped on the air, but you have played in a tour event for how many consecutive years now? I'm going to make you count.
Well, it's a long time, but certainly since the senior tour, I haven't missed at least one event every year. 14 was my last full year, and 2014. And
the plan is to play again this year?
Well, I love to compete, and I don't want to just get out there and shoot 75, although I've done that. I'd like to, get in the top 10 and get in contention. That would be, I still sleep better at night, Rich, if I have a good practice, even if I don't have a tournament. I'm so used to I've done it all my life.
So, even now, weather is kind of, I'll say iffy, but you still out there practicing?
I haven't gotten to practice or play as much. I've had an injury with my left hand, but it's coming around now. I'm finally getting some inflammation out of there. So I'm looking forward to warmer weather. It certainly feels better when it's warmer. So hopefully.
And we'll talk about this coming up in a little bit, but, you were saying that you wanted to share some tips a little bit later on with folks about preparing for the upcoming season as winter transitions into spring and playing in spring conditions, which often can be very wet. And, we'll dive into that, but a lot of news on the tour. And, we are now in March, and we're a month away from April, and April, of course, means the Masters.
Yeah, that's it should be an exciting Masters this year. There's 20 guys that could win it, and of course they're going to have to beat Scheffler and they're going to have to beat McIlroy. But there are some guys that are trending again, and I think hungry. That's a big part of it. And of course, Tiger said he might come there. Don't laugh, Rich. They laughed at him last time, and he won.
I know. And, you love, and I know you've told a few stories about Tiger, including the first time you played with him, and you love his competitive spirit, right? That will to win, and I don't play unless I think I can win. But it seems like, certainly in recent years with all the different injuries, he certainly, you love that he goes out there with that mindset. But, at some point it becomes hard to believe that, does he really believe it, or does he just hope that he believe? You know what I mean?
The answer is yes, he does. The walking is going to be the biggest challenge because Augusta apparently is one of the hardest walking courses with the undulations and with his right Achilles or whatever is bothering him with his right leg. But if I were to advise him, it would be to play a senior event. He's eligible now. He'd certainly be in contention, and even if he doesn't win, which I think he probably would, it would just get the competitive juices going and just get his breathing, his routine, the things he knows how to do.
Do you mean prior to playing at Augusta?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So definitely played Augusta, but play a senior.
Yeah.
Boy, it's crazy to think that Tiger is eligible for the senior tour.
Can you imagine the bump that the Champions Tour would get if he came out there? And I think he will. Usually, these guys, when they turn 50, they play a major,
mm-hmm.
and then they, get in contention or win, and they go, hey, this is kind of fun. And he would certainly, at 50 years old, he still looks like Superman. And he says he's back to hitting full shots. When he says that, he's hitting, normal speed. Mm. And he's always downplayed his strength and speed. Oh, yeah, that guy's really well. When he wants to, he can reach in his back pocket and pick up another 40.
So you don't think we're done seeing Tiger Woods play not just competitive golf, but championship level golf, whether it be on the senior tour or maybe even, right course, right conditions, because all that matters too, right? I mean, talk a little bit about playing a course that suits your game, because for a lot of everyday hacks like myself, it's like, I like some, I don't like others, but, when you play the level that you've played and that he plays, there are definitely courses that fit your game.
That's true, and he can fit any game. I mean, he was the greatest player in the world for a reason. It's hard to compare eras. Jack Nicklaus was certainly in his era, Ben Hogan and Sam Snead in their era, but it's hard to compare that. They're both made out of the same cloth, but Tiger has probably got more shots other than Phil Mickelson alive. And by the way, Phil Mickelson would be Tiger Woods if it wasn't for Tiger, because he was like Tom Weiskopf would have been Jack Nicklaus if it wasn't for Jack, because he finished second a lot.
So your expectations for Tiger, I mean,
I'm excited, that he's even saying he's going to play, because I know he's a hard worker. Obviously he's kept his physique up. Not just kept it up. I mean, he's amazing for 50 years old. He looks like he's got some muscle packed on there. But he's got, like I say, all the shots. He can play anything. I would love to see him go out in a senior tour and like I said, for a warm-up, because the golf course isn't going to be quite as demanding, and he can work on shots. He can work on his short game and get in that mode, that winning mode. And, if he'd win, the talk would be even bigger.
I want to say that I remember him saying at one point, and I'm sure most guys do, I'll never play on the senior tour. I'll never play on the Champions Tour, because, they feel like they're, past their prime and they're playing against age competitors. But, then most wind up is it because of that competitive spirit? Is it because of the love of the game? What is it?
Both, but when you compete all your life and you love what you do, of course, a lot of these guys they've been on the road a long time, and that's probably why Live was appealing to some of them. Play 3 days a week instead of 4. You get that one extra day, not as many tournaments. They're certainly getting paid, so that was appealing for that reason. But I think that appeal's wearing off of Koepka. And some of the other guys too.
Yeah, Patrick Reed, another name that's been bandied about possibly making the switch. And you mentioned Koepka, back now on the PGA Tour, and I know injuries were a big factor for him. And man, I'm hurt, I'm banged up, I'm not playing at my best, and they're going to throw this much money at me. But now, I mean, are we hearing that he's healthy and ready to try and compete and get back to that level he was at on tour?
I tell you what, watch out for the Masters, because he's a major kind of guy. He loves the competition, and he won't back down. He's a big guy. Really, the biggest thing that has been a problem, it looks to me, is his putting. And normally he's a very good putter. And it's interesting, his putting, because he lines it on the toe, and another number one in the world did this, was Greg Norman. When the camera's on him, you notice the ball is out toward the toe of the putter, and when he strokes, he goes actually out and around and hits in the middle. So I don't know if he's changed that, you go to a putting guru, but it's kind of like holding a baseball a little different way. You got to kind of work with what a guy has.
Safe to assume you don't teach that method of putting?
No, you kind of have to work with the DNA of a player. That's what I'm talking about. Lee Trevino, you don't make Lee Trevino swing like Jack Nicklaus because he might be better. No, it'd ruin him. He's got a flat, shut-face swing, and Nicklaus is upright and open-face swinger. So you can't teach him the same. By the way, Scheffler swings more like Nicklaus and Greg Norman than anybody.
Is that right?
Greg flattened his swing a little bit later on, working with Ledbetter. But, if you remember, Norman had that slide that Scheffler has with his right foot, ducked inside.
I know we've talked about Scheffler before, and you mentioned him just a little earlier. But I mean, he continues to play at an unbelievably high level. You know, Rory, of course, completed the career Grand Slam last year. Those obviously two of the best. But I mean, the run Scheffler's on, comparable to the run Tiger was on, in your opinion?
No doubt. No doubt. And, you know, the fields are getting stronger, not weaker.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you know, they're a different era, cut out of the same mold. But, you know, Zach Boshu is local.
Yes.
And he's out there now, by the way. He's, I think he's made $290,000 official money. And I think you'll see him move up. But now I lost my thought. Where was I talking about?
Well, you were talking about Scottie and the run he's been on comparable to Tiger.
Yeah. Yeah, he's I mean, the stats show it. He's just so consistent. And you know what's interesting is he's had 2 or 3 slow starts,
Mm-hmm.
couple over par, uncharacteristic. You know, he was in some bad weather and preparing for the tournament. He didn't quite, and so he had slow starts and still almost won, you know, top 5, top 4. Second once, starting out, even in L.A., shot 74 first round, still was in contention. So I don't think you'll see a slow start at Augusta. I think he's the one to beat again.
As long as he could stay out of jail, right?
Yeah, really.
That was a wild, wild story. Yep.
Yeah, one guy waved him around, and the other guy, you know, wanted to make a point or something. Who do you think you are?
And next thing you know, he comes back and has a great opening round.
Yeah, and I think I can't quite remember the whole story. I thought his caddy wasn't his normal caddy, and that probably threw him. But anyway, the second round,
right. Well, I mean, that's going to catch up to you at some point, you would imagine.
Yeah.
And really interesting. I mean, you know, you talk about Scottie now being sort of like Tiger back when he was in his prime and dominating, and Nicklaus. But, you know, one of the things that seems to stand out as a major difference between the two is, you know, we know Tiger was hyper-focused and golf was everything. And Scottie's talking about, hey, look, golf is great, but, you know, I've got a kid, I've got, you know, different things, and, you know, golf isn't my whole life, you know. And
well, that's the advantage. You know, he has faith in Christ, and that's a big factor in putting things in priority. You know, I think you need to be a little careful. You know, people are so excited he won the Open, and he almost said, like, I don't care, you know,
right.
And you just, you know, you got to be careful with that because he does. Did you see him at Phoenix? He cared. Mm-hmm. He was playing poorly and kind of tossed the putter over to the side. He didn't slam it, but, you know, and then he hit that poor chip, dumped that chip, just a layup in basketball for him. And, you know, he didn't break his club, but, you know, he kind of acted like, you know, so he cared. He's a competitor. Yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say about him. Zach Boshu played with him in junior golf, and they would stay in communities together at the tournament to save money. And his dad, Ed Boshu, said he won everything when the kids played at night. Basketball, ping pong, tiddlywinks, no matter what the game was, he won it.
And you mean Scottie?
Yeah, Scottie.
Got that competitive spirit.
Yeah, he's just a great athlete.
What do you think's going to happen at Augusta? And I know we're still a month away and a lot can happen. But, you know, I mean, what are some of the key things that you're looking for?
Past performance, guys that like the golf course. I think Scottie Scheffler is going to be the guy to beat. But look at the top 4 guys. This Bridgman, I haven't followed him. I don't, you know, he's young. Mm-hmm. You know, he's only won one event, and he's leading money winner, $5 million. Morikawa is always solid, you know, and Gutterup. Here's another guy. He's a 3rd place, and on the
some
money
new
list.
names.
And he's a big guy, you know. And that Augusta, you need to be a big guy. When I say big guy, you need to launch it high and long, and he can work it both ways. I mean, this guy, and he makes everything he looks at. So, you know, those are. But you know, the Masters is the Masters. When it's crunch time, you know, it just seems the Nicklauses and those guys come up. But you got Rory McIlroy's playing well. Just a lot of names there, and now you got Well, Justin Rose, how about him? He's playing his best golf of his life. He's bringing his own motorhome. He's got a hot bath, a cold bath, a regular gym in his that he travels. So Adam Scott's playing good. He almost won at Riviera last week. So there's just so many guys that.
But when it boils right down to it, I mean, there are a couple. I mean, when you say Augusta's Augusta, you kind of expect I hate to say the cream to rise to the top, but the guys who have played well there, who have experience, who the course fits, you kind of expect them, right?
Well, the only guy that ever won Augusta the first time that I know, that if I'm remembering properly, was Fuzzy Zoeller. He was the only guy that played first time and won. But he's always been a good driver, and he can hit it high. That's a big part. Lee Trevino didn't like Augusta that much because of that. He was a low ball hitter. He loved it over in Europe. But, you got a couple of guys coming over back from Live that, will be in contention.
Dick Mast, my guest here on I was going to say the Sports Line. Man, that's a lifetime ago. Locally on the links. Dick, last question before we take a break about Augusta. If Tiger does play, is your expectation that he's in contention, he makes the cut? What's your best guess? I
sure would like to see him play one or two tournaments before he goes.
Yeah.
He's the greatest player in the world, but you do have to get some repetitions in, get your mind going. I'd love to see him play at least once before he goes.
Dick Mast, the teaching pro up at Poplar Grove Golf Club. Of course, still a member of the Senior PGA Tour, the Champions Tour, and of course had a great career on the PGA Tour as well. We're going to talk a little instruction, getting ready for the spring, playing in the spring, tips for you guys who are getting ready and getting the itch to get back out there on the golf course when we come back here on Locally on the Link. Stay tuned. Rolling along here on a Sunday morning, it is Locally on the Links. My name's Rich Roth, and I'm joined in studio by Dick Mast, the teaching pro up at Poplar Grove, and of course, such a great career on the PGA Tour, and still playing on the Senior PGA Tour, the Champions Tour. And Dick, you were just saying earlier that you're looking forward to getting back out there and trying to qualify and play again this year.
Yeah, I'd like to, not every week, but I would like to, pick and choose a little bit and try to get out there.
How do you pick the tournaments that you're interested in playing? Does location, as far as the golf course and the way it suits you, is that a factor? Is it time of year? Is it schedule?
Past success, the type of golf course that fits you, and I suppose more importantly, the qualifying course, because you got to take it deep. And, some courses just don't fit your eye as well, or you've had past success at certain courses. Do
you have any specific tournaments that you're looking at and kind of have circled on your calendar, so to speak?
Well, certainly Prestonwood at the end of the year, and Dick's Sporting Goods in New York, Binghamton, New York. I've had a lot of success up there, both in the tournament and getting in for some reason. So.
Well, I guess that's a big key, right? You got to get in.
Yeah, you do.
You can love.
They only take 3 guys.
You can love the golf course and the tournament as much as you want, but you can only play if you get in.
Yeah.
So if you feel good about it, I mean, I know you talked about having some injuries that you're overcoming, but you feel like things are coming along.
Well, I've been very fortunate with health, especially at my age, but I've had a little issue with my left hand, and I'm trying to get that worked out. So hopefully, if that, like I practiced today, and I was banging on all 8 cylinders. So but can I do that 2-3 days in a row, 4 days all week? I don't know yet. So hopefully,
to be determined.
That's right.
For everyday regular golfers out there, and some could be good, close to scratch or scratch golfers, or higher handicappers as you come out of winter and head towards spring. Talk a little bit about that transition and how you get ready and try and hit the ground running as far as your game's concerned.
Sure. If the greatest player, one of the greatest players ever, Jack Nicklaus, went to his teacher and went over the grip, stance, alignment. If he's doing it, what should we be doing? And so I highly recommend going to a teacher you like and getting a brush up, and certainly start with short game and get the muscles loosened up. Stretching is probably one of the biggest things you can do for yourself. Make sure, because a long winter, and this year was pretty cold. Of course, they play in under 40 up here. That's amazing. But still, you need to get those ligaments loosened up and not hurt yourself. So it's important to, work on short game the first couple weeks and or days, and then work into it. And if you can get with your teaching pro, that would be even better.
You say work on short game. How should people go about doing that?
Rich, if you hit 30-yard wedge shots and you hit 3 buckets, you'd be surprised how that helps your driver, because you find out where your hands are. It's timing, it's rhythm, it's bottoming out where you're supposed to hit the ball first and the ground second. Even though the driver's on a tee, because your setup change, you'll sweep the ball more, hit up on it naturally. But you'll find that your hands coordination will improve with a driver by hitting 30-yard wedges. So
and I would imagine if are you talking about doing that more on the range or around the green?
Yeah, I would say 30 yards. If you have a pitching green to hit to, you can do within 30 yards of the green, but you can do it on the range as well. They have targets out on the range.
The interesting thing about doing it around the green, though, if you can, and I'd love for you to correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you will, you also kind of get a feel for the green, right? Like how the ball releases, how quick it rolls. So that could kind of not only help your longer game and your chipping, but maybe your putting as well.
Sure, and it depends on the facility. A lot of facilities have the chipping greens a little thicker, a little slower, so you might not get the exact feel. But certainly chipping on the if they allow you to do that to the putting green, it's very important to do that. Don't take 9 holes to get used to the greens. Get used before you start. So it's important. You see all the tour pros, they warm up a good 30 minutes on the putting green chipping area.
And in the last minute or so that we've got, as people get out there, late winter, early spring conditions, very different than, in the summer when people are probably, more in the flow. Talk a little bit about course conditions and how that might affect someone's game.
Absolutely. If you're down south on Bermuda, it's firmer turf, and even up here in the summer, it's the turf is firmer, so you need less bounce on your wedges. And they have Titleist fittings at each of the courses in town. Call the pro there and find out where the Titleist fitting is, and go find out about wedges and try them out. Have the fitter. Because it makes a big difference. You get a hard surface and you got too much bounce, you're going to be sculling the ball, so you can't get under it. And so when it's soft, you want more bounce on the club, say a 14, and when it's hard, you more like a 6 or an 8 bounce. So 2 sets of wedges are a good thing to have.
2 sets of wedges. What else when you're playing in the in the spring and you talk about wet, softer conditions? That's certainly a factor as well.
Sure, and even when you get cold days and that, and it might be better off hitting a 3-wood off of the tee to get the ball up in the air and carry, because the ball's not going to roll. So that's something to consider. Certainly hitting more club on your second shot, because things are softer. You're not going to get the run.
Dick, we're getting there. Weather's breaking. You talked about getting a tune-up. Obviously, you're the teaching pro at Poplar Grove. If someone wants to see you, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah, I'd call the club 434-946-9933. 434-946-9933, Poplar Grove Golf Club.
Dick Mast joining me here on Locally on the Links. Thank you, Dick. Always a pleasure. Enjoy the Masters, and we look forward to talking again soon.
Let's talk after the Masters. That'll be exciting.
We'll do it. Folks, enjoy the rest of your weekend.